Hi, everyone. Welcome back to the Paige of Swords podcast. This is episode 49 with Emily Schubert from Pittsburgh, Pennsylvania. I'm so glad to have you here. You are a Olympian now. Oh my gosh, like in the women's physique. You have such a long history too. And it's crazy because I live in Pittsburgh also. And I just feel like this is like our first time actually getting to talk. Because let's just say this right now. When Emily's got the headphones on in the gym, we're not disturbing Emily.
Yeah, I get into my own little world there.
And that's okay because it shows in your physique. Do you feel that way in the gym? Do you feel that, this is your time to focus? Like, what's your headspace like?
Yeah, so ever since I've been in the gym, like working out, it's always been kind of like my time for me. And I've noticed as I progress and mature as an athlete, the more so that focus is needed in the gym. It's great to have friends, and I love my gym family. There's nothing against them, but when the time comes and I need to get what I need done, it's kind of like, all right, guys, like games are over. I need to go into my own little zone. And I don't know about you, but like, it's really hard to come in and out of it. So if someone's trying to have a little conversation and this and that, it like kind of pulls away from like the flow of your training session. So it's nice where I train, my gym family kind of understands that. So that the disruptions are kind of kept to a minimum, which is awesome. And I appreciate that so much. But that's why before and after my workouts are typically the times when, I'm chatting with people, saying hello. That the Powerhouse Gym Pittsburgh is filled with amazing members. So I can't even say thanks enough to all the support that they give me there. But it's kind of like a sign, like when the headphones are on, it's like I'm unavailable.
No, and it's great that you're able to have that in the gym too, because I know for myself, like I go to several gyms and I go to them enough where people know who I am and like I don't have a problem. But I can understand, like for you, you're a creature of habit and you're like, this is my space. And then everybody kind of learns to like form to you and it's the gym, right? So some people don't always know the proper gym etiquette, but it sounds like you're pretty good with that.
Yeah, it took a little bit of time. And especially too, like the people that see you there all the time, they recognize that like, oh my gosh, she's actually like, she's here for a reason. So they kind of respect that.
Oh, absolutely. And like, sometimes, you got to give the here,
Yeah.
I don't know. There's like a weird sign language that we've created.
Yeah,
Right?
it's like the 1 year off. It's like, okay, but like, I got to get back to it.
Yeah. And I'm sure that's really cool. Especially, you're up and coming now, girl. You might go to a gym and people are going to want pictures. I was just thinking about,
Mm.
could you imagine being Chris Bumstead in the gym? Like you can't get shit done.
Yeah, I don't even want to think about that. I will say like my, my little taste of like, I would say just like being known, being well known in Pittsburgh. I was just at a Merifit the other day, and I had someone come up and ask me like, "Oh, you're Emily the Olympian," and I'm just like, "Oh my God, this is so weird." So like that's new. Haven't been able to get adjusted to that.
It's
But
coming for you, girl.
I hope, man. I hope. It is really cool that like as like annoying as sometimes it can get, you have to like take a step back and just realize that like holy crap, this is really cool what I'm able to do. And like the fact that this is my kind of daily life right now. It's not always gonna be this way. So while I'm in it, I have to appreciate and kind of enjoy every little aspect of it, even if some days it's like, "Oh, I really don't want to like small talk or I don't really want to chat to people." But like in retrospect, like it's really freaking cool to be able to do this and meet other people that are also interested in it.
Right. I'm sure it will start to catch you off guard because I bet you'll run into people and they might even look like non-bodybuilders and they'll know who you are. And you'll be like, how do you know me? That's so cute.
So I had someone at Powerhouse, like I introduced myself, we're talking, I was like, okay, by the way, like I'm Emily. And he's like, oh yeah, I know who you are. And I was like, oh, okay. That's weird.
Yeah, because then you don't know what to do. Just be like, oh yeah, like act all cocky and be like, yeah, of course you do.
Yeah, because I'm so human. Like I'm just another gym goer that likes to work out. And yeah, we're all just humans. So
right. But I always said too, I've seen you in the gym, you are legit like that person that is the hardest work in the room. And like, you and Ava both, I'm just like, these are two girls in the gym working on it. And, you know, nowadays it's kind of lost art. I don't see it as much because we're all distracted on the phones and stuff. So I see it, and like, it's awesome. I hope that people look at you and, you know, kind of
Oh,
learn that example, you know?
well, thank you. I appreciate that. That's one of my like top all-time favorite compliments to get. Is work ethic, because that's something that really can't be taught. You kind of have to instill it into yourself.
Mhm.
So that's also like the coolest compliment to get is saying that like, hey, I see you and I see you working hard, and like keep doing it. That's awesome to hear. So thank you very much.
Oh, absolutely. So I was looking at the NPC website to kind of get a brief history. You've done a lot of shows. So now it dates back to 2016. Is that when you started then? Okay.
Yep. So I did my first ever show at Slippery Rock University. It's up north in Pennsylvania. That's where I went to college. So my senior year there, I was 22. I did like the club. They have like a bodybuilding club. I did the show there, and it was a hot mess.
Yeah,
My
it's a
suit
small
didn't
show.
fit. I didn't know how to pose. I didn't know how to diet. Like it was a train wreck. But it exposed me to the bodybuilding world. And it kind of opened my eyes to something that I found like a passion for, an interest. So I graduated, came home, and hired my first coach. And that's when I started into the NPC in 2016. And that was in figure, actually.
Now, is that the show that you did with Sarah? I know that she said that she was at, I think she might have been at your first show too, maybe.
I want to say it was maybe the
Mountaineer.
Mountaineer
Okay.
Classic. Because I remember I drove down to it by myself, which
Okay.
was an awful idea in prep.
And you were 22 when you did that?
I would have, I would have been 23, I think.
Okay. I mean, that's still
Yeah.
pretty young to be driving to a show, and you all by yourself too. Wow.
Yeah. My coach at the time, he drove down with
Okay.
his girlfriend, so they met me down there, and we did the show there. Um, but it was, I mean, that was my first exposure into the NPC, and it was kind of like holy crap, like this is. I mean, I was used to Slippery Rock where I knew everybody.
Yeah.
Like that's the people you go to school with.
Yeah.
And to enter into this, it was like people of all ages, all skill levels. It was kind of like a rude awakening to be like, holy crap, this is intense. But it also opened the door to kind of prove to myself that like this is something I wanted to keep doing.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
So that was cool. It was a fun experience. I wouldn't, as bad as it was, I wouldn't change anything about it because it does teach you a lot.
Mm-hmm.
I think everyone, their first show, they look back at it and be like, oh God, like never look at those pictures again. But it's a lesson that you learn, and you got to start somewhere.
Right. And I think it's pretty cool that you did figure. You know, you know, even myself, I started in bikini because I knew I wasn't big enough, but it's something I wanted to try. You had the foundation. So back in college, did you do some sports and stuff?
Yeah, so I've been an athlete forever.
Okay.
I did dance, gymnastics, and then within like middle school, high school, I started track.
Okay.
And that's where I really like, I wouldn't say like grew as an athlete, but like I just really got into being like almost like a tomboyish. So I was like a trackie for life. I did track at Slippery Rock until I got injured. But it was kind of the building blocks and the foundation of being disciplined. Because in a collegiate sport, you have practices, you have schoolwork, you had study sessions, you had community service, you had 6 a.m. Friday practices you had to go to. So it was a lot of instilling that like do the hard stuff now and it'll pay off. And I think that's kind of where my work ethic was built and kind of like created, was in the Slippery Rock University's track program, really.
Yeah, and they do have a very good program for anyone listening
Mhm.
who doesn't know. I actually know a lot of bodybuilders that come out of Slippery Rock, which is interesting that it's not a very, you know, big, well-known school, but it definitely has a reputation for the sports education there too. So that's awesome. And then, yeah, like you had that foundation, and it seems like, so when you were starting out, I'm kind of looking at a picture here. Would you say from track that you ended up being more quad dominant as a figure competitor?
So I always knew how, well, I wouldn't say knew how to train, but I was always stronger training legs because
Okay.
it was easier to do. I mean, I was stronger there. I trained more power based because that's what I knew from being track oriented. It was a lot more fast twitch muscles, a lot more explosiveness. And that tends to build like a blockier look. So that's why a lot of my density was in my quads, because I was doing sprint workouts and hill workouts and plyometric jumps and a lot of just stuff to really hammer those legs. So I think my legs developed way quicker and way earlier than anything else on my body. So that's kind of where you look at those pictures back from like 2016, you're like, holy crap, she has legs. And it's like, that was the only muscle group I knew how to train.
I'm so jealous because I need legs, and just hearing you, I'm just like, I don't do any of that. But it shows, because like I was never in track, but the girls that were in track, from the explosive exercises like you're talking about, those are where those quads just shine, especially if you're like genetically already have it too, you know, that double whammy. But yeah, I
I
mean,
get a lot of the like soccer questions too, like, oh, did you play soccer? And I'm like, no, I never did. Never ever.
yeah,
So
I've
I
seen
really
that.
do track.
Yeah. And then, so let's see here. I saw 2017, you did the Pittsburgh, which is a pretty, you know, big show and everything. So how was your experience doing like the Pittsburgh? Because to me, like, I've never
Oh,
done it because it's such a big title show.
yeah. So that was kind of the turning point for me. I trained really freaking hard for that show. And it was almost like I was doing a lot of the wrong things, like overworking.
Okay.
So I went and did that show and was really upset with the kind of like the end result.
Mm-hmm.
Not only just placing, obviously you want to do well, but like I got my pictures back and I was just like, this isn't what I know I'm capable of.
Mm-hmm.
So that was kind of the turning point when I realized that I wanted to switch coaches.
Okay.
Um, and the main reason was I was feeling like the current coach I had wasn't giving me what I was putting into it.
Yeah. Yeah. And that happens,
And
right? You end up like learning what you can from that person. And it's just like college. It's like, it's time to invest in some more education, correct?
exactly,
Yeah.
exactly. I knew I was cutting myself short, and I knew I was willing to put in a lot more work.
Yeah.
I just needed someone who had the same mindset and the same amount of, I don't want to say care, because it's not like my first coach didn't care. But just it was time to step up a little bit.
A different personality for sure. And I know
Mhm.
that you work with Derek and you've been with him. Is that right? You moved to Derek and that's where you've been since?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. So funny thing, my first coach was also named Derek.
Oh,
Yeah. So I went to a different Derek. But I met Derek Natcher, who is my current coach right now, Team Loud. He was at the Pittsburgh, and my friend from college said, I know this guy. He's great at what he does. He's very serious. He puts a lot of care into what he does. I think it could be a good match for you. So, I introduced myself, I met him. I ended up creeping on him on his profile and everything to kind of check out what he does. And that's where I really saw a lot of his transformations that he would post. And I was just like, you know what, this guy knows his stuff. Clearly it's working. There was not only, one or two people, but it was just like person after person after person with these crazy transformations. So I was just like, you know what, this is my guy. I'm gonna try it out. So I started with Derek in the end of, what was it, 2017. So it was like, I think it was August or September when we started together into like an off season. And then I've been with him ever since.
and
So
that's great. I do want to say that it's great that you kind of preach that you did your homework, because nowadays I think people try to, look at coaches for their name or whatever and jump into it. But you did your research. And then on top of that, it sounds like you gave Derek a full off season with you before that next show. So is there any other tips that you want to give people for,
yeah.
making that switch to a new coach?
Yeah. So I think with coaching, like you said, a lot of it is personality based.
Mhm.
So someone might be a fantastic coach, but you guys just don't click. And I think a lot of the times you need to share almost the same personality as your coach. Derek has a very, very type A personality, just like me, where it's very detail oriented. It's very like, this is what you got to do, and there's no other option. And what I also like about Derek is he's very health conscientious. Meaning, health always comes first, longevity, bodybuilding has a small window. And of course, we want to do well and we want to win. But Derek also has in the back of his mind, like, I need my adulthood. It's not like I want to be in my 40s and 50s and have a lot of issues kind of underlying from what I did in my 20s and 30s. So I like that he keeps that in mind, so that obviously I am willing to do what it takes. But he kind of keeps me in check and says, like, I know you want to do this, but long-term speaking, this is the better route. This is the better option. It's safer. It's going to do more for you in the long run. So I liked that about him. Another kind of tip would be just to check on like the level of communication. So I noticed Derek was really responding rather quickly. It wasn't like I wouldn't hear from him for a couple of days. Every check-in I sent, I would get back a timely response, and it was a detailed response. It wasn't like you look great, keep going, let's do it. Which I've heard some horror stories, but yeah, everything. I mean, the communication was there. He was very friendly, very open. I was never afraid to kind of talk to him about issues that arise because, we're dealing with our bodies. So it was never like an uncomfortable kind of a weird thing. So it's definitely, you have to look for someone that you're able to create a relationship with.
Yeah, and that's
because if that's not there.
Right. I was going to say, you brought up a good point too, because you are a female with a male coach, and it sounds like your communication has to be good, because with bodybuilding, you have to talk about the body, and we do have to talk about our hormones and periods and when we took a shit and everything, because this is just what's going to help your coach understand you or what's going on. So wanted to butt in real quick and just say to throw that in there, because I don't know how many girls want a male coach, but then they get scared to like actually talk in detail, because it's your coach. You should be able to talk about those things.
Yeah. It's funny you mentioned that, because like I never thought like, ooh, I don't want a male coach. I don't really want that. I looked at Derek and I was just like, this dude is serious. He's a badass. He has lived it himself. He has like a no sympathy kind of a mindset, which to do well in this sport, you kind of have to. So that's where he and I clicked. I remember as we got to know each other, of course, the conversations about like your regularity, like your bowel movements, and obviously with me being female, periods, that's just something that at that point, it's not a personal issue. At that point, it's information, because we are dealing with our bodies, we're dealing with hormones, we're dealing with things that could cause long-term issues if not handled correctly. So for the women out there who are listening to your podcast, do not hesitate to tell your coach if something doesn't seem right, if something is making you uncomfortable, if there's an issue that is occurring and you don't know what's going on. Never feel uncomfortable. If you do, then there's something wrong with your coaching relationship, because this sport deals with your body. So I can't stress it enough.
Absolutely. Yep. And yeah, that's the thing. I think you have to have that communication clearly, and they should be asking that, you know what I mean? Like, I know my coach asks weekly, like, were you stressed, or were you constipated or had this or that? Like, I want to know what days, because that will reflect back to how you look for the check-in. So, and I know some girls that like get petrified to check in sometimes. I'm like, don't be like, if the scale's up, it could be hormones and everything else, and your coach should know that. Your coach shouldn't. I mean, they should, I think after all this time too, with you working with Derek, I'm sure he knows your body so well.
Oh God, you have no idea. It's so almost like to the point where it's more than I know my body.
Yeah. So then you went into an off season, and I want to say that's I was saying that that's another good thing that you did, because you can learn a lot in the off season. So do you want to talk about that off season with Derek, and then going into 2018?
Sure. So our first off season, I was coming off of a 3-month period of just like being on my own. So I intuitively ate. I worked out what I wanted, how I wanted. So it's just kind of like having fun again. So when I started up with Derek, that's when I started with, this is the meal plan. This is your training schedule. There it is. And I liked that. I liked the sense of knowing what I'm doing in the gym. it was all basically just laid out for me, and all I had to do was execute. So that's what I liked about having like a set meal plan. I know some competitors have macros, but since the day I started with Derek, it's always been, meal one, this many grams of chicken, this much rice, this much, it's very specific. And I like that. It takes the thinking out from me. I really don't mind it, to be honest.
Like a shopping list too. I mean, it's like the same
Yeah.
10 things. And then every once in a while, I'm sure Derek might, switch something, but I'm at this point too. And I too, it's like, fish and chicken can be easily swapped. You know what I mean? Or you got your rice or your cream of rice. It's like after a while, it's the same stuff, but I'm the same way. I'm like, just tell me what and when, and I will just put it on the scale and eat it.
Exactly. And that takes the planning and the this and that. Like if you have a busy schedule outside of your eating and everything, it's so nice to be able to say, okay, tomorrow I need this for this meal. I need to pack it. And there's no planning, there's no this or that. It's just do it, pack it, and it's done. So I've always liked that kind of a style of a meal plan. That off season, I think the biggest adjustment was training.
Okay.
And just understanding a little bit more of pulling back. Because I was a person that was deadlifting twice a week, squatting twice a week. I was a nutcase. It was that more is better mentality. And like, no rest days, no days off. And I think the biggest thing for me working with a coach of that style, I knew in my head he was right. But the hardest part was listening.
Oh, for sure. And like I know that you've gotten better because I see that you do the foam rolling and the stuff and stretching like I do. And it matters because once you implement it and then you start doing it, your body will know when you've been slacking, right?
Exactly. And of course, like as you progress through, doing this for months to years, you've been doing this for a couple of years now, the more tissue you put onto your body, the more important mobility, flexibility, recovery is, because it's like the more you put that on the back burner, you're just asking for injuries and issues to arise, and those are just setbacks. So it sucks, yeah, but like just grunt and get it done. On those rest days, just set aside an extra half hour to really give yourself time to stretch, foam roll. I know myself, if I slack for a week, I definitely start to feel it in the gym. So it's so much easier just to be like, all right, let's get it over with, let's do it, than to like put it off and then a couple weeks later start to have something pop up and kind of tweak something, or something doesn't feel right, and you can now connect it back to like, it's because I haven't been doing my homework.
Yeah, exactly like what you said, homework, because you just got to, get down and do it. And I've told myself too, I'd be on my phone. I'd be like, if you can sit here and scroll on your phone, you can do a little bit of foam rolling. Like, let's not make any excuses.
And the cool thing too, like I've discovered that I actually look forward to it now, because I have set aside that time. It's, I'll light some candles, I'll turn the lights off, I'll put on some good music. And it's actually a way for me to kind of like disconnect, and kind of deload from everything, because during the week and during our days, it's, you're constantly doing this, constantly answering this person and doing this and running here and get this meal in and train and this and that. So it's kind of my time to just like turn everything off, turn my brain off, do some just relaxation. I've been actually focusing a lot on like breath work.
Yeah.
And I've noticed that it does a lot of like emotional release too. So I'm a very high anxiety, high stress person. So I noticed that when I do that and just kind of allow myself to just like, like woosah, just let everything out, it does do a lot of good. So people think like, ew, meditation, breathwork, it sounds stupid, but it really has changed me as an athlete. If you haven't looked into it, I highly recommend doing some research out there, because it does really do good things to the body. So,
and in the gym too, I know that I've been working on it just because it actually helps me with my squats, because that's something I want to improve on. And I've noticed, like, if you don't breathe right on certain exercises, like you might be cutting yourself short of like a rep or two, because if you don't have that focus and breathing and you're kind of like getting anxiety during the exercise, your body's gonna, kind of, it doesn't want you to do it anymore. So it just like stops it. So you got to think like it could help you get a couple extra reps.
Yeah, especially during those hard sets too. I've noticed like when you when your body gets uncomfortable, you
Mhm.
start to do that shallow breathing and it's almost like you're hyperventilating.
Yeah.
If you can control your mind to like stay relaxed, it's kind of the same concept on stage. Like when you get up there, you're like, oh my gosh, I'm in like no clothes and I'm in front of all these people. And if you can't control your body and your breathing, then you're flexing and everything's gonna look like it's like
Yeah.
it's stressed and it's tight and it's you just need to learn to just like under those high D intensity situations.
Mhm.
And it's in the gym, it's on stage, it's in real life. I mean, we're all stressed as it is. We have enough going on.
Oh yeah, and posing, like you were kind of saying, because when you're in your pose, that's why you should be practicing posing, because we all know we need to get that breathing endurance too, because you don't want to look winded. Judges will see it, and we know. I mean, even for
Oh,
you at the top level, I mean, that stuff matters so much.
oh, yeah, I'm glad you brought that up because I've actually been working with a couple athletes who are a little bit more experienced in the posing,
Yeah.
and a lot of our sessions deal with posing tips, just learning when to breathe, when to shallow breathe, when to catch your breath. Because when you're setting up into these poses, a lot of the times you have to control your midsection,
Yes.
which stems from breathing. So it's funny you mentioned that too, because it does go into posing a lot, is just being able to control the way that you're breathing, taking in air, exhaling, all that stuff.
Oh yeah, especially when you learn to breathe through the diaphragm and not through your belly, because that's
Yep.
like I know like I don't think waist trainers like really like make you lose weight in any sort of way, but wearing a waist trainer helped me learn to breathe properly, and especially in posing, because when you hold it, you're in your upright because posture.
Mhm.
Yeah, it's really just we all have to breathe to live, yet it's somehow like a lost skill.
A lot of it too is I wouldn't say laziness, but you just get I wouldn't say what's the word? Um like unused to it.
Yeah, you get comfortable, so.
Yeah, a lot of the times when I'm posing with people, they turn to the side and I'm like, dude, suck that gut in. Like, come on, breathe, pull it
Redo.
in, draw it in. Yeah. And it's like, I don't know if people just forget that like the midsection is a muscle group, like their abdominals, they're muscles. So
They
you
don't
gotta
learn
control
until
them.
they learn when they see the photo, though. I was just telling my
Um,
posing client today that because it's always at the end when you do your walk off. I'm like, don't let it's not over until you are off the stage.
yeah.
The judges can't see you because even when you do your wave off, don't like, all right, we're done. Like let the gut
Oh, I've
out.
definitely had some of those pictures and I'm just like, ew.
Been there, and that's how you learn from the mistakes, right? Because and sometimes we have to get on our clients and just be like, do not let that gut hang out.
Yeah. Yeah. But I mean, you'll see it all the way up into like that the top pros. I mean, they still struggle with it too. So it's definitely something that needs to be taught and kind of like I wouldn't what's the word enforced
Yeah.
to the younger athletes is just waist control. And even the judges when they're going back through judging and they're critiquing and stuff, a lot of it is midsection. So
For the
you'll
men.
like over the past couple years it's become more and more of a thing.
Yeah, as it should, because I like when I watch the shows and stuff and you're watching the routines and everything, or even when I go to an amateur show, I am always so impressed by people who you can tell practice and those little details, like since we know to look for it, I'm like, wow, that person knew better.
And it's so funny too, because like your pose might be gorgeous. And if your abs are just ever so like let out or released or relaxed or something, you're just like your eyes go right there and you're like, oh man, you just ruined that. So it's very important.
Oh, absolutely. And I mean, it's the same for physique, but I know in figure when they put the girls out in the lineup, I mean, it is always like clear as day. You go right for the waistline, you know what I mean? Because I mean, in figure and like I said, physique too, because you want the tinier waist and everything else to expand out. I mean, naturally, that's just how natural the eyes go to.
Mhm. And I do like that it's enforced in men's divisions too.
Yeah.
Because I know for women, like obviously you want like the feminine, small waist and everything.
Mhm.
But I like that they're keeping on the guys about it too, because I think it's a big deterrent for someone's physique. Like if a guy is awesome and they have some nice muscle bellies and then they have like this gut hanging out, it's like, you should be reprimanded or you should have points taken off just like the females would.
Oh,
So
Absolutely. Do you think that that's helped over the years, that I think people are better about like eating an abundance of cleaner food and not going for like the junk foods?
Yeah, I think so too. Like, I'm sure you feel this way too, but digestion can be one SOB. So the less issues you can have with your digestion, the better. And I've found too, like with free meals, I've noticed like it's not that I don't enjoy them, because of course, you like to have a night where you can eat what you want and go out with, family or friends or whatever. But I do notice that like if we're not doing free meals, my digestion is like smooth as butter. Like everything stays the same. I don't have any like bloating, no gas, no like upset stomach. Like everything just kind of stays within status quo. It just kind of flows right along. And it's like these people that think that they want to bulk with all these dirty foods, and sometimes you need a higher calorie and you just can't get the volume in with clean food. I get that.
Mhm.
But like I don't know about you, but I feel way better doing clean foods in my off seasons.
Oh, absolutely. That's how my meals are all clean, and even my cheat meals now, I typically go for like Asian foods that have rice, or like something with chicken. It's like I
Or like a
never
steak and
go
potato or
fried.
something.
Yeah, I just, because like again, like the gym is our world, right? And digestion and how we feel. And like I don't got time to be going to the gym the next day feeling like a sack of potatoes, right? Like,
Yep. Yeah. Or if you're like trying to get a good workout, like a leg day, and you have to use the restroom all the time, like no one wants that. So the more consistent you can keep your digestion, the better off you're gonna be.
yeah, those are all great tips. But I wanted to jump back in about how you were talking, or we were going into your off season, and then with Derek, you ended up doing the Pittsburgh again, it looks like, and you got
Yep.
first place. So like obviously like that must have felt rewarding. You got the new coach and the off season paid off. And then like how was that show experience in 2018?
So 2018 was uh it was a wild ride. That was my first competition season with Derek, with having like a legitimate coach, that kind of knew how to peak someone.
Mhm.
Um, I think a lot happened with my body that I was just like, holy cow, I've never seen this before. Um, it was it was kind of the chance that I wanted to kind of show my like what I'm capable of and what I can do. So going into the Pittsburgh, that was a big show. That was back pre-COVID. So we still had guest posers and all of the what are the vendors.
Yeah.
So it was a big show. It was a big kind of an evening, lots of people walking off that and coming off of that show. Like it was so cool. My family was there. I had a lot of teammates in that show, so I had that community sense. Derek was there. It was a lot of fun, and kind of opened my eyes to what bodybuilding could be.
Mhm.
And then 2 weeks after that, we went into my first national show, which was Junior USA's, first one ever. Didn't know what to expect. I was like super scared because I was like, these girls have been doing this forever, and like here I am, like trying to like look like I belong with all these girls. And I remember clear as day, Derek was down there with me in South Carolina, and he took me grocery shopping, and he was like, "Em, I really, what happens if you win the whole thing?" And I was like, "Pfft, you're crazy. That's never happening. You're nuts." And the next day I ended up winning my pro card. And it was unreal. I look back at it all the time and really count my blessings, because I do know a lot of competitors who have done, years of national shows and kind of waiting for their time and their turn to earn this pro card. And it was just like, there I am. It was just like I walked up and it was kind of like it fell in my lap. Not that I didn't work for it, but it was definitely a blessing. Kind of unreal. I didn't understand how lucky I was at the time.
Mhm.
But definitely like a couple years later, after being in the bodybuilding community for a while and understanding that like, sometimes it's not easy to earn that pro card. It takes some seasons, it takes some maturing as an athlete. And it was just like, holy crap, like that happened really fast. And then I was kind of thrown into the IFBB, which you know how that is. It's a lot different.
Yeah, because I'm like you. I got a new coach, did my off season, and then we did a show, kind of like a warm up, and then we went into my first national show, just like you, and then you win, and you're just like, me, like, really, like, I'm ready, like, and it's like, if you get rewarded, then it's like, yes, the judges said you're ready, and then like you said, like, you took 1 year off, so, no, you didn't. You went right into 2019 into your first pro show, correct? Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay,
So
no, and that's okay. So you went in for it, and so talk about that. How was that first
yeah,
year?
so I kind of let Derek take the reins on
Okay,
what our seasons look like.
okay,
And for some reason, we decided to do 3 shows in 2019, and they were all back to back to back.
yeah.
So we kind of made a run. We did San Jose in Cali,
Mhm.
California, and then we went to the Chicago Pro, which was in Chicago at the time,
Okay,
and then we went back to the Vancouver Pro.
yeah, because this is
So that was,
pre-COVID. Yeah.
yeah, that was a lot. I was on the road for 3 weeks. So I went from one city to the next city to the next city, solo. I was by myself.
Oh boy.
So that was new. I was 25, 26 and traveling alone, and dieting on top of that. So I was just like, that was interesting. A lot of learning went on. But it was a lot of fun. Didn't do so hot,
And that's okay. Yeah.
didn't do horrible. I
No.
was kind of middle of the pack. But it was definitely a good experience. I met a lot of amazing competitors that I'm still friends with to this day.
Mhm.
And it was definitely a learning experience.
Do you remember any
I
feedback that
agree.
you got? Like, did the judges give you any feedback that first year? Because I do want to say, I think it's great that you did hit 3 shows, because what I'm hearing as a new pro, you got to get your face out there. So I'm just curious, for your first year, were they like, good job, now here's your homework?
Yeah, so a lot of it was size.
Okay.
I was small at
Mhm.
that time. I think on stage I was still on one under 130.
Mhm.
Um, and even on top of that, a lot of it was stage presence too. I was very very meek, very timid. Wasn't much like fire to me when you come to the stage. And that's something that I've worked on over the years. And part of that was just too like going into something that you're not familiar with, and you're just like, oh my God, and not only that, but these women have been doing it for. I mean, I remember standing on stage with Sheila Bleck from the Vancouver Pro,
Yeah.
and this is a woman who has been in the sport for probably as long as I was alive at the time, maybe a little less, but she is a seasoned athlete. And I was just like, holy cow, like I'm sharing the stage with her. This is nuts. So that was an example of just realizing that like you're young, you're unexperienced, you're a rookie. Some people hit it big and they do really well in their first season.
Mhm.
Mine was a learning experience. I needed to kind of be smacked in the face and be like, hey, you got a lot of work to do, because you go from the NPC being one of the big fish, and then you go into the IFBB, and there you are at the bottom of the totem pole again.
Mhm.
So for some competitors, that's a big awakening, and some can't handle it too well.
Mhm.
So I think for advice out there for people who have earned their pro cards and they're going into the IFBB,
Mhm.
just go into it with an open mind.
Mhm.
Have no expectations, have fun. You're going to learn a ton, and be open to meeting people, because that's where you're going to get a lot of your advice and your help from. I can't even name all of the women who have helped me backstage and kind of guided me through their own experiences. I call them like my big sisters, my stage sisters,
Mhm.
because they do. The people that have been around the block and been doing this for years, those are the ones that tend to know the little tips and tricks.
Yeah.
So chat away backstage. That's my biggest tips for your first season in the IFBB.
Yeah, and I think that's great that you kind of, like you said, everything that you got for feedback sounds pretty accurate for most rookies, because you don't really know until you get up there. Like, because we always look at ourselves every day, and like, yeah, like you look at the pros and you're like, wow, they're so big. But sometimes you really do have to just get in that lineup and just really see, like you said, like you didn't do bad and you weren't like in the top, but you were in a good spot where it was like, you're not, like, you've got potential. Like, to me, what you did, that showed us for a first year that you just got to keep doing what you're doing, right? Because you're just a rookie and you just got to keep, I mean, look at football players. When you're a rookie, you just got to, got to make a name and a face for yourself and put in the work, which you have the work ethic. So no problem there. So I'm glad that you had that first good experience, because I heard backstage is like just completely different, right, from the NPC.
It can be intense depending on where you're at and which competitors are in the lineup. It can the most part, people are friendly.
Yeah.
We'll say that.
Yeah.
The most part, people are friendly. There are, I mean, it's when you're at the high level and you're at some of these bigger shows. I know at the Olympia, a lot of people were friendly, but at the same time, some of the competitors just wanted to be in their own little space. They set up their camp. They want to be left alone. They want to be in their own headspace. They want to do what they got to do with their music and whatnot. But I think every show is a little bit different. I haven't had any majorly bad experiences with the women's physique competitors. They've all been really friendly, really open. Yeah, I mean, I haven't had any like super bad experiences.
Everybody's there to win, right? So
yeah, you just know, like, certain times are times to say, hey, I'm a big fan. Can I chat with you for a little bit? And then other times you just gotta like let them go.
okay, headphones.
Yeah, kind of same thing. Like I was at the Legion Sports Fest, and backstage there's some big name competitors, and you're like, oh my gosh, like fangirling inside. You're like, oh my gosh, I want to get a picture with them. But it's like you have to remember, like, they're competing too. They're backstage. Like, let them go. Let them have their moment. And after that all is said and done, and you guys are hanging out backstage, like that's when you can be friendly and like get your pictures and stuff. But yeah, it's a different world. I mean, and NPC, you walk around those shows and like you can feel the energy and the tension and stuff. But like you go to an IFBB show and you're just like this is intense, because points are on the line, and placings and Olympia qualifications are on the line. So it's a little bit more like do or die kind of feel.
Yeah. And like that's like, it's something to keep in mind too, is that there's a time and a place, right? And even if you don't get to talk to that one pro at that show, they probably will start to see you more and more at other shows, and then you'll get your picture eventually, right?
Yeah.
So in 2020, was that good? How did that go? Because I saw you did Chicago. Did that move, or was it still in Chicago?
So 2020 is a hot mess for everyone.
You went to Atlanta.
Yeah. So we actually, I can't even remember. I know we had a show picked out before that.
Okay.
Because it had been pushed back. So I remember I was working at Dick's Sporting Goods at the time, after the first initial lockdown. And I went back, and I remember being 8 weeks out, and then my show got pushed back again because of delays, or certain pro shows were being canceled or moved or whatnot. So I remember going from 8 weeks out to back to like 14 weeks out. Mm-hmm. And then that's, I think, when we decided on the Chicago, which was then in Atlanta. And that was in October. Okay.
And then what's the other the NPC website doesn't have the show that you won for the Olympia. Didn't you do the one was it in Florida, the Atlantic?
Yep.
Oh,
Atlantic
for some reason
Coast.
it doesn't have it on here, but I know that you did that show. I was like, where was her first place win at?
Yep. So the Chicago was in October, and then the Atlantic Coast was at the end of November. And actually, Derek and I planned to do the Atlantic Coast and the Arizona Pro, which were back-to-back weeks. Yeah. So I went into the Atlantic Coast kind of just being like, whatever happens, happens. I'll get more experience. It was my second pro season, so like I still was just like, whatever, like I'm still new. So the Atlantic Coast happened, and I remember calling Derek backstage, and I was just like, dude, I just ended up winning. And he and I both were just like, what the heck? Because we had planned, our plan was to do those 2 shows and then shut it down and take the whole next year off. So there we are, first show, it was just like, well, I guess we're going to the Olympia. Like, I guess that's the plan. So I actually pulled out of the Arizona in 2020. I still flew to Arizona and had a trip out of it. But we pulled out, and then we went into the Olympia as my first show in 2021.
Yeah, that's like, first of all, that's really cool because I'm the first thing that comes to my mind is like when I think about all the shows that I did, the less pressure I put on myself, the better I placed. So it almost sounds
Yes.
like, you were like that way too. It was just like, like I'm flexible or I'm just gonna take it for what it is. And then you win. And it like your body must have responded really well to that and just was like, we're in Zen, we're cool.
And it's funny too, because the same thing happened this year too. So it's kind of, I'm realizing that that's a pattern that is proving to be true. That you're learning, I'm still a young pro. So, we did this year, we did the Olympia. I was nervous like none other because it's the freaking Olympia.
Yeah.
And then we did 2 more shows after that. And those other 2 shows, I went into them like, hey, whatever, I'm looking for a decent placing, but whatever, like I'll do my thing and get more experience. And they went way better. So I'm learning that like your mindset going into a show really can make a difference.
Yeah, and like we talked about with meditation and breathing and all that, it's going back to that because you do have to practice it and you do have to work on it just like everything else. The body is a lot of fucking work, like, but we love it, right?
And it's insane how sensitive it is. Like the little tiniest things. If you're stressed, you might hold water. If you're stressed, you might, your body might look stringy, might look flat. And there's so much that goes into it. And it's like the less you can worry about it. I always say that my job is to relax and Derek handles everything else.
Mhm.
He's the one that stresses. Sorry, Derek, but you're the one that gets to stress. My thing is just do as you're told,
Yeah.
execute the plan, and stay calm. So the shows that I've done, my best personal showings
Mhm.
have been the shows that I go into just being like, well, whatever happens, happens. And
Absolutely.
it's the shows like that where you have fun and you remember that like, you're doing this because you enjoy it and like there's no pressure and it's like
Mhm.
the worst you can do is just think like, oh my gosh, I have to do well. I have to perform. And it's like, then you're putting your body under all of this extra stress and tension. And it's like, you need to be relaxed. So my competitors that I work with, the I pose and everything, I tell them like, worry about everything now.
Yeah.
Practice now, make your mistakes now, because when you come to show day, you want to be so prepared that you just get up there, do your thing, and like walk off and being like, that's the best I could do.
Absolutely. You did all the variables and you moved on. I mean, I
Mhm.
know, and we go again with the environment that you're in at the gym. I know that all those guys at the gym think that way too. When you're getting ready for that show, all the checkbox should be checked and everything. Like you did what you were told and you controlled the controllable.
Mhm.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, you can't help who shows up at shows.
Mhm.
I think especially like with pro lineups, you look at them and you're just like, oh my gosh, so and so is at that show and they're a top 5 Olympian and you can like psych yourself out for these things, but you have to remember that like everyone comes into those shows and kind of it's not a sure thing.
Mhm.
Things happen, people have bad days, people come in off, you might come in on point, you never know. So you never want to kind of evaluate the lineup for what it is,
Yeah.
so to say. Everyone has a fair chance. Never that's the mistake I make is I look at these lineups and there's these big names and you're just like, holy crap, like I don't stand a chance. But
Mhm.
you have to remember that like it's up in the air. You can bring your best and you might do well, you might place middle, you might place last, but like if that's your best, that's your best.
Yeah.
Use it as a learning experience.
Right. And now that you've made it to the Olympia as an athlete, that really says that you are one of the top in your division, which has to feel really good because, I mean, even though the Olympia is the Olympia, it doesn't matter where you place, you are still the top in your division.
Yeah, so I've been struggling with that one.
Yeah.
So we went into the Olympia a month out from it. I had an injury come up. So I wasn't able to really do the exact prep I wanted to do going into the Olympia. We kind of came on stage there at about 80%, which sucks. But that's life. That was the hand I was dealt, and we did the best we could with it. So it's more disheartening and more like just like disappointing to know that the biggest stage that I was on was probably my personally like worst show, which sucks, but it is what it is. I take it with a grain of salt, and it's fueling my kind of hunger to get back to there and prove that I can do it again. But it's funny because it's like everyone that I talk to, they're like, "Oh my gosh, you're an Olympian, you bit and you made it there," and I'm just like, I still don't really like. I really haven't done anything yet, and that's why I call myself a brat, because I am constantly thinking of ways that I can get further, get better, get more, improve, because that's the name of the game.
Right.
So I don't think there will ever be a day where I'll say like, oh, I that's good enough. I made it to the Olympia, which it makes me sound like a brat, because there's so many competitors out there that haven't gotten that experience. So for me to be like, ugh, I hated that weekend, it was stupid, like that sounds so bad, right? But
you
it's just
experienced it. I think you were there and you experienced it. So I think people look at the big picture. They're like, wow, the Olympia. But then you're like, no, like there's a whole lot of other stories going on here.
Yeah, it definitely was. I will say it's unlike any other show because you are in a hotel in the venue with literally everyone in the industry.
Yes.
So it's a very weird feeling. The energy for that whole weekend was really, really intense. Because other shows you come in and it's not like the IFBB has taken out an entire block of buildings for an event. It's a big thing. So you go in there and you get your hotel room and you're just like, oh my gosh, like this is the Olympia, this is nuts. It's no matter what, you're gonna be nervous. You're gonna be feeling all of these emotions and everything. And I think that going into some of the smaller pro shows, it was a lot more relaxed, more chill, because it wasn't as big of like a hoopla, a big deal. There wasn't like giant banners everywhere saying like Olympia weekend, and you're just like, oh my god, like reminded every 2 seconds of like you're gonna be stepping on stage of the biggest stage in the world. So that's also different. That was a learning experience to kind of like understand that what comes with the whole deal of the Olympia. And on top
you were
of that
like
too,
a celebrity. You were like the Michael Jordan in the, one of the many Michael Jordans.
I didn't even have to attend everything. Like there was the press conference that like I didn't have to go to, but on top of that, then you have the meet and greet, which took probably like 2 to 3 hours, depending on how long you sat there. And then on top of that, you have athlete check-ins. There's just a lot more that goes into the Olympia weekend that most pro shows don't have. So it's a little bit more like high stress than than a normal show. So I'm glad I have that kind of out of the way to know what to expect. Hopefully when I get back there again someday.
Yes. And so there was something, I wanted to ask. So how do you feel about the Pittsburgh Pro now introducing the physique? Like you have to be excited for this to be.
I am so very excited. I'm really, really, really salty that it's of course the first year that I'm taking off because this whole year's gonna be off season. So I've already complained to Derek about it and she's like, it'll be there next year. But it's very exciting to know that we have a show that is local that has my division, because as you know, when you travel for shows, there's so much more that you have to worry about. Transportation, where are you going to stay? How are you going to get your food? What are your meals like? Just there's a lot. Travel expenses, not only that, but like time changes. So within the past couple of years of competing, like when you travel for shows, it's exhausting. There's a lot that goes into it. So to know that there's a show local in Pittsburgh is like, it's awesome. I'm so excited.
I'm so excited too for you guys. Like I'm excited to go and watch it because I don't know, like I'm a big fan of the big girls. I'm just kind of like, physique and female bodybuilding, you know what I mean? It's just like I feel bad that you girls don't have more shows where you get like bikini, and like I like the bikini girls too, but they get so many shows. And then, you know, physique and women's bodybuilding, it just seems like it's very rare. But what it does make the shows more hype though, because we want to see you girls. But I do also wish there was more opportunity. So thankfully Pittsburgh, especially after the Arnold getting rid of physique, I'm glad that
Yeah.
Pittsburgh said
Yeah.
we'll go for it.
And I hope too, I like that the Pittsburgh Pro and championships, I think they should have all divisions,
Yeah.
mainly because Pittsburgh is the birthplace of NPC and IFBB. You know, like we are pretty much, I find that weird all the time because I don't make that connection. But like when you travel and you're meeting people in the industry, they're like, oh, you're from Pittsburgh. Like that's bodybuilding's like capital, you know, like that's where it all is. So for the Pittsburgh Pro to actually have women's physique as a division offered, I think it's really awesome. And I think it's only gonna like do good things for the sport. You know, getting more competitors to travel to Pittsburgh to experience the city. I think it's awesome. And it's like finally time for them to have it here. So it's exciting. It's big news. Yeah, it gets me excited for hopefully, you know, the next couple years of potentially, you know, taking that title. That would be like, I mean, that's really cool to be able to say that, you know, you're the Pittsburgh champion for women's physique. So it's definitely on my bucket list of shows. So hopefully in the future.
Yeah, definitely. I was gonna say I was gonna say that has to be on your list now. I can't imagine it not be. I know it's on mine, and to make it to that stage too. And then of course, like that was, you know, if you're with Derek, which I'm sure you will be, you know, that was the show that Derek brought you in, one first. Now let's get another first.
It'll be like a full circle moment. That gives me like chills. Like that would be really cool. And on top of that too, the suit that I wore for my win
Okay.
for my pro card was the same suit I wore this year.
Yeah.
So Becca from BB Custom Suits actually upgraded my suit. So I still have that initial suit I won my pro card with. So to potentially bring back that to the Pittsburgh Pro stage, I mean, stay tuned. That could be really cool.
Yeah, and it's that pink or like the fuchsia one, right?
Yep,
Yeah.
that like pink with purple one, yeah.
Oh my God, like that's the one I had my fuchsia suit that I won my pro card in from Becca too.
It's a good color, man. The pink.
It must be. It works on us girls. I tell you what, it really does look good. Yeah, and we love Becca. Becca is the best in the business for sure. And Pittsburgh, so you got to keep that local. And yeah, the Pittsburgh Pros coming up. Like we're like 5 weeks out from that.
We are, and I've actually been working with some people, some clients that are getting ready for the Pittsburgh Pro. So you can feel like the excitement growing. And then of course next weekend we're doing a posing seminar that is going to be at AmeriFit. So if anyone's listening, registration is still open. So come on out. It's free. Gary and Bill Spilia will be there. They're two IFBB NPC judges. They're going to be kind of guiding through the whole kind of seminar. We're going to have every division. We're going to have a pro in every division, as well as several Olympians. So it's going to be a fun day. There's no pressure. It doesn't matter if you're off season, in season, if you've never competed before, come out. I know I'll be there all day. I want to meet as many people as I can, just because what we do is really unique, and it's cool to meet other people that do it, and it makes you feel even more welcomed. So I'm excited. I can't wait for it. It's going to be a good time. Not only that too, but you're going to learn a ton about your divisions. Having those two judges there, they're going to give you exact feedback of kind of what they like to see, what they don't like, what you should do, what you shouldn't do. So it's going to be awesome.
And like you said too, it doesn't matter if you're in prep or off season, especially the off season girls. Come on, because I'm going and I'm in off season too. And I tell anybody, just you being there shows that you take this seriously. You know, if you can go, you know, put the heels on, practice. I mean, and it's okay. It's off season. You know, you're still getting the tips and the knowledge that you might need. And I know for, you know, physique and figure have the pretty close to the same mandatories anyways for the lineup. So it's very similar to get the lats and everything. So yeah, I did want to bring that up, and now that's coming up next week. And you're also working with posing clients outside of that too. So, and they can they email you for that?
Yep. So I do online in person. In person is right out of Powerhouse Gym Pittsburgh, which is in the North Hills.
Mhm.
But I also offer online for anyone that is not local to Pittsburgh. Um, a lot of the times those sessions, depending on where you're at with your experience levels, I like to break down to your mandatory poses. Usually then we'll work into transitions. So connecting those mandatories, making it look a little bit more fluid. And then on top of that, we'll also work on, facial expressions, kind of the vibe you bring to stage, just working on your confidence, your breathing techniques, of course. And then on top of that, I also do offer routine work. So custom routines, I tend to ask for at least 6 weeks notice so that you have time to learn it and you feel comfortable. But it's a lot of fun. I let the client choose their song that they want to pose to. And then I just kind of, take the hard work out of it. So I like to get to know the client a little bit, to know their personal style. I think that reads a lot on stage, and I never want to give someone a routine where they're like, this is not me. But yeah, it's a lot of fun. I've found that posing is really where a lot of my passion is. I know some competitors do coaching, some do training. I have dabbled with training, of course, but I'm realizing that posing is kind of like my jam and what I enjoy the most. So yeah, I'm really trying to extend my arm out there. I tend to be a little bit more introverted and shy. So I'm really trying to put myself out there and help as many athletes as I can. Um, it's a lot of work, I will say. My clients tend to leave sweating and dripping all over the place. But that's what you hire me for. So it's a lot of fun. I like working on posing because I think it's the final step that helps people on stage to kind of get the most out of their physique. I've seen people have ridiculous bodies and then they just get up there and they don't know how to show it off. And I think it's like a crime. So if I can help, some of these athletes that might not have anyone to ask for posing help or might be nervous to ask for posing help, I'm really friendly. We'll have fun. Yeah. So if you wanna join me in some posing, my email is on my Instagram profile. If you can't find the email, shoot me a DM. And yeah, so I schedule kind of come and go week by week. I try to accommodate as much as I can for people's schedules. So yeah, that is available. So if you want, come on and pose with me.
Female and males, right? You have some male
Yes.
clients too? Yeah.
Yeah, so
I
it's exciting that I get males too, because it's a lot of fun. But I offer women's physique, women's bodybuilding, men's classic, and men's bodybuilding. I do not have the experience for wellness, bikini, men's class, or men's physique. And I never want to pretend that I do because it's not my calling. There's plenty of other coaches out there that do know those divisions. But for anyone in those four, I am more than happy to help. So
That's awesome that you have guy clients. I have like a guy at Planet Fitness. Like I just help him out with men's physique because it's pretty simple, but it's the fact that like sometimes a guy might need a feminine touch to their posing. Let's be honest. Like, I mean, look at your Urs. Like his mother was a ballerina and he did break dancing. And like, let's be honest, like I'm sure his mother's ballerina experience and him having some dance, I think that like that helped in the posing. I mean, what didn't Arnold pose with ballerinas and stuff too? Or
I'm sure.
I think him and like Franco Columbu did like ballet for a little bit for posing purposes.
Yeah,
So I think
and
that's
I
awesome.
love to think that gender kind of is taken out of the equation. The fact that men feel comfortable enough coming to me and saying like, "Hey, can you help me?" It's a compliment, and it makes me feel that I'm being accepted and what's the word, validated, for the knowledge and experience I do have. So that's awesome. I mean, I'm a pretty laid back, chill person, so there's no need to be nervous. Like if you want to compose and whatnot, I do help guys as well. So
And that's great. And your Instagram it's mshub, right? And then _ IFBB PRO.
yep.
Which I'll put that in the show notes for everybody too. But yeah, and then I'm trying to think anybody else you want to give a shout out to, you know what I mean? Like anyone that's like, cause I mean, I also wanted to ask real quick about your future plans. You said the whole off season, and then are you thinking 2023, you're going to let Derek or you pick something?
Yep. So game plan right now is we are in full off season. This is the first time that I have not competed in a year since I've started. So
Okay.
since 2015, I've always dieted every year, always competed. So I'm hoping that this is kind of what my body and my physique needs to make that next step. So we're just kind of taking it slow, giving as much time as it needs. It's going smooth so far, knock on wood. My food's highest it's ever been. My training feels on point. No injuries right now, hopefully, fingers crossed. And then plan is kind of next year open. So if we do something early later on, I'm kind of leaving that, of course, up to Derek.
Yeah.
So I'm sure he has a game plan in his mind, but he won't tell me yet because it'll just make me stress out. So
Yeah.
when the time comes, he'll let me know. But yeah, it's wide open, which is kind of cool because that just means we can do really any show, any time frame, which is cool.
Yeah, I think next year's going to be real good. I know I'm looking myself. I would like to hit a pro show, and I know a few others that have been taking. I think right now more than ever, you're seeing people that are like, no, I'm taking time off to eat and grow, work with a coach, and I think these are all really good things. Especially, I know in 2020, this is where I learned this lesson. I learned that it's okay to take the time, eat and grow for a purpose, and then like you said, then like don't put pressure on yourself. Go into the year, just lean out, and then when your body's ready, hit it up, and then no pressure, and then you do better, right?
Yeah, that's the biggest thing. It's just like remembering that we do this for fun. No one's making us do it. We choose to take part in this sport, and it's a blessing. I mean, I could not imagine my life without bodybuilding, not only for the lessons that it's taught me about myself, but also just the people. I've met some of the coolest, the most down to earth people, not only competitors, but their family, their friends. It brings people together that have the same mindset and the same kind of personality traits, I found. And it's just, it's awesome. I mean, like, I sound so corny, but like, I mean, bodybuilding is just, it's a really cool world to be involved in.
Yeah, I think so too, especially like our little Pittsburgh community. I think it's great that like, you and Brady made it to the Olympia, Dougie's making it. And it's just like, look at our little Pittsburgh people just excelling. Like to me, it really says something. There's something in the water here in Pittsburgh, like there should be, because like we talked about, this is the capital. So we should be.
Yeah. And there's definitely power in numbers. I mean, like the experience that all of us have gotten, and the fact that we can kind of give back and help the up and coming, the younger crowd of Pittsburgh bodybuilders. I think that shows a lot of like camaraderie and kind of community sense. And I like to think that that's kind of the feel of Pittsburgh, like we're a city of family and friends and kind of just like banding together. So I think it's a great thing. I think this posing seminar coming up, it's really the first that has ever been in Pittsburgh. And I hope that it's becoming like a more of a regular thing, because I think it's important to kind of bring together not only the people that have been around the block, but also just the young and up and coming. I see them at Powerhouse Gym all the time. There's a ton of young people out there that want to either get involved in competing, or they have, and they want to get better. So it's cool to see that like passion for the sport. You want to help feed that and get these people to kind of do it properly and learn as much as I've learned over the couple years, and kind of give back and share my experiences.
Yeah, because as a pro, I mean, as soon as I turned pro, I'm sure you might feel the same. We are the ones setting the example. And that's what I want to do as a pro. Even if I'm not some elite level crazy pro, I at least want to feel good that we gave back in the right way to the up and coming, because we are kind of going to be graduating it to the next generation of the young kids. And it is getting popular with TikTok and stuff. Like they are just, see bumming it all over the place. Just like, all right.
And a lot of the times too, like when I was early on in the sport, there's a lot of times where you have these questions and you're just like, oh, is this right? is that normal? Is that okay? Am I weird? Or, should be happening this way? So I always think about that. And that's why I reach out to other female competitors, other young competitors, because a lot of the times, like, you just need someone to talk to.
Yeah.
And to kind of be like, this is going on. I don't know if this is right, or, is this how I should be doing it? And that could be anything. That could be nutrition wise, that could be training wise, that could be something that you're experiencing with your body, something's going on. So yeah, I like to think that as we progress into the pro rankings and kind of gain our experience, it's like I want to give back to the younger people that weren't there when I was there.
Yeah, it's the world of social media. We want to be social. And I think that, like you said, that you're an introvert, I'm an extrovert, and I think you're always going to have these kind of people. So it's, when we can get together, and I'm sure you can be that introvert to tell other introverts, like, don't be afraid to talk. Like, you will get answers and get where you want to. You just got to like talk a little bit. And then I need to just learn to tone it down and not scare the crap out of you people.
No, but that's why we have the balance. You have to have those outgoing people to kind of get the people like me out of our shells.
Yes. Well, I want to say thank you so much for coming on the podcast, because like I said, this has been something I've been wanting to do, but we know Emily's role, when she's in prep and everything, you got to wait in lines. And and I'm going to post this like today. So anybody that listens and wants to do the posing seminar in Pittsburgh, reach out to, Emily, because I think you probably still might have to go to Dougie's website to register, but we'll set you up, because that's April 9th here in Pittsburgh at AmeriFit. And I'm so glad that you guys got together to make this happen, because like you said, it's something that's needed to happen. And I'm looking forward to it. So, yeah. Well, all right, I'm going to end it there. Anybody, anything else you wanted to shout out or anything?
No, I just want to say thanks for having me on and taking the time and kind of sharing our experiences together. I think it's really cool to start like banding all the Pittsburgh people together. So I just want to say thanks.
Yeah, well, yeah, again, thank you so much. And let's hope for a future Olympia again. All right, let's go. I need you to go back there.
That's the plan.
All right, have a great day, Emily. Thank you.
Thank you, you too.
Bye.